So, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm Jano Lieber, the MTA Chair and CEO, and I'm joined by some of the folks who did a lot of the work that has brought us to this day. Allison Tan, who's the COO of MTA Bridges and Tunnels, also known as the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, who oversaw all the technical teams throughout. Shanifa Riera is our Chief Customer Officer and has been in charge of outreach to customers, both mass transit and our drive customers on the bridges and tunnels. Juliet Michelson, the Deputy Chief of External Affairs and Policy, did a ton of work. I won't go into all of it. And Laura Wiles, who's our MTA Chief of Staff. All of them have been amazing partners in this effort. Listen, no secret what's brought us here together today in what I always say is New York's temple of mass transit. It is day one of congestion pricing, and proof of how historic this is, you know, at midnight, not only was New York One leading with this story, but the BBC World Service led with the story that New York was the first city in the United States to adopt a congestion pricing scheme. So we're very proud of that being first and showing that New York is going to continue to lead. The system has been in operation since midnight, 1,400 cameras, over 110 detection points, separate detection points on the borders of the congestion zone and within the zones. There are well over 800 signs, and there are 400 lanes of traffic that are within the zone. And drivers are going to start to see the toll charges appearing on their E-ZPass bills in a few days. And this is important for people to understand. This is a toll system like has never been tried before in terms of complexity. It's not like when you just roll under one set of cameras on a highway. We've got to go through a whole process where we identify when you came in, what type of vehicle, do you have an exemption, did you stay on one of the excluded roadways, the FDR Drive or West Street. So there is some process that we have to go. Now, let me remind everybody that we've spoken to DOT, the city DOT, who's monitoring traffic, and traffic is good. It's flowing freely at normal volumes, and there haven't been any exceptional incidents where people approaching the barriers and traffic changing. That hasn't happened yet. But I do want to remind everybody out there who's learning more about this, please sort out your E-ZPass. We are overwhelmingly New Yorkers who drive are using E-ZPass. That's great. But you got to make sure that your E-ZPass account is connected to your license plate. Otherwise, you will end up being charged more because the system won't know that the car and the E-ZPass are connected. So be sure to connect your E-ZPass to your license plate. And please, everybody, make sure you look into the discounts and exemptions. It's no secret there was a long process where the MTA and the whole team was asked to look at 130 separate proposals for discounts and exemptions. There are two big ones that everybody came together around, and one is a low-income discount. Very important. Folks who are at the low end of the income scale have a discount. And there's also a total exemption for people with disabilities in vehicles that they are driven in. So even if the disabled person is not the driver, you can get an exemption for people with disabilities. So please go on the MTA website. There's a website called congestionreliefzone.mta.info that has all the detail, but we've been out there talking to the disability groups, reaching out to everybody who is eligible for that, and we want them to know. Now, we're only 12 hours in, so as I said, it's hard to give an accurate measure of the program's success because we don't really know until the end of the day, after all those factors have been worked through, where people went, whether they're an exempt vehicle, whether they were on excluded roadways. All that stuff doesn't get calculated fully until the end of the 24-hour period. So it's going to take a few days for this all to kick in. But it's gone smoothly. And I would just say we all don't expect New Yorkers to overnight change their behavior. Everybody's going to have to adjust to this as more and more people become aware of it and start to factor it into their planning. We do know that on a typical weekday, there's somewhere between 500,000 and 700,000 vehicles that enter the congestion zone. That's the area of Manhattan below 60th Street. So that's the benchmark, and we're going to keep watching it very, very closely. Over time, we're going to be looking at how traffic is changing, the number of vehicles and the types of vehicles, and where they're coming and where they're going. We're all hoping, this is one of our goals, and it's been one for New York for a long time, we can get trucks to start doing more of their deliveries in the late night hours. There's a huge discount on the overnight, and it's especially designed to incentivize trucks who take up so much space and create so much traffic to do more of their deliveries overnight. We want to see improvements in vehicle speeds. This is one of the principal benefits for people who drive. If you do drive, if you have to drive, we want you to spend less time stuck in traffic. Your time is worth real money, and that's why the business community has supported this so much, because time wasted in traffic is a huge drag on our economy. So we want to see speeds pick up, especially for buses now moving at under 5 miles an hour in Midtown. Buses are slower than walking in much of Midtown. We want to see if that can be improved. We want to make sure that emergency response times, fire trucks, police cars, and most of all ambulances can get where they're going faster. Those times have been going up every year because of traffic. And it's terrible to think of a loved one stuck in an ambulance because, and with their life at stake because they can't get to a hospital because of traffic. So we want to see if that is, and we want to make traffic better, as I said, for everybody. Less time spent in traffic is good even for our drivers. But we're also hoping that some of our drivers, there are only just under 140,000 people who drive to the Central Business District as commuters. 90% of people take mass transit, and we're hoping some of those drivers will take another look at mass transit. And that's one of the reasons we're here in this amazing, one-of-a-kind train terminal. The commuter rail service that the MTA is providing is just out of sight. Metro North yesterday ran 500 plus trains, and one was late, only one. We're talking about less than, I think, less than 0.2% of trains on Metro North were late. Last year, Metro North had an on-time performance record of 98%. Long Island Railroad not far behind. So if you are a driver, take another look at the speed and convenience. We're running more service than ever before on commuter rail, and we're also seeing people come back from the suburbs. The commuters from the suburbs are coming back in huge numbers. We are almost 90% of pre-COVID levels on our railroad. So it is really a success. It's really popular and worth another look. Fares on the commuter railroads, super affordable. People don't understand this. It is less to ride on the commuter rails as a monthly customer today than it was before COVID in 2019. What else has gone down in price since COVID? We all know that inflation has been a reality. What else has gone down in price? Commuter railroad is cheaper. And if for people who live inside the city who are drivers, there aren't that many of them, but the people inside the city who do drive to the CBD, they have a special discounted ticket on Metro North and Long Island Road, $5 in the off-peak, $7 in the peak. You can't beat it. If you're driving to Manhattan, you might be paying $50 or more to park. You can get in and out on those special low commuter railroad fares. And all of those commuter railroad services are offering these special winter weekend deals where you can bring your whole family, if you're a monthly customer on the rail, for $1 a kid, $1 a spouse, $1. So real benefits to taking Metro North and commuter rail. Listen, we're expanding service on subways. We got 11 more service on 11-9s. We have 24 new routes on our bus system. Mass transit in New York is doing great, and this is a new MTA. We're getting projects done, we're delivering for our customers, and We want to build relationships with everybody in New York as we take advantage of this moment of people rethinking transit. So I am really thrilled to have everybody here to see just how great Grand Central Station is and how lively it is. And I'm happy to take questions at this point. Mr. Minton.
All right, Samantha Liebman has been here monitoring the amazing service for about 7 hours, so we're going to give her the first question from New York 1. Sam.
You got it. All right, thank you. So we talked to some subway riders this morning who were waiting almost 20 minutes for Lexington Avenue line trains, and they say, you know, why isn't service better? Why are there still homeless people? If you want riders to switch to mass transit, they want to see better service and improvements, you know, so they're get out of their cars. What would you say to that? I know, and let me just say, I know you mentioned the service improvements, to the 11 or 12 lines and the bus service improvements, but they feel like they're just not seeing that. And also, I know that the controller sent you a letter asking for metrics to be published on a regular basis for the public to see some results. Are you going to do that as well, so people see something? Because it's going to take a long time for these projects to get online and people to see things.
We made a commitment to be transparent. We're going to put out a lot of data. You know, folks, if you look at the MTA's open data dashboard, there's enormous amounts of data. Sam, you know that, and you know we're going to put out the data. But listen. One of the challenges, we have the best subway service on the numbers that we've had in over a decade, and it really has been a tremendous improvement. There's no question on the weekends when we do a lot of work, there are diversions and changes that are somewhat disruptive, and we're always trying to balance making sure people can get where they're going. I got here from Brooklyn in 25 minutes. It was great, perfect service, but on subway lines, as I passed through Atlantic, there are definitely diversions and changes in service. So we're trying to balance making sure people get where they want to go and have good service with the need to do the work that makes the system better long term. You know that. That's the balance we're always weighing. And I've never found our MTA customers will ever stop encouraging us to do better, and we actually welcome it.
All right, over there to the holiday coat, Kimberly Richardson from WABC Eyewitness News.
Very nice, thank you, Tim. Okay, I have a couple questions, no surprise there. You said we're gonna have to work out the kinks. So already this morning I got in a cab at 20th and got off here at 40th, and I was charged the extra 75. So I'm a little confused with that. The driver was confused, we paid it. So just questions on some of those wrinkles. I drive in the city, I have Easy Pass. It's hard enough now if I'm overcharged or mischarged to try and get in touch with Easy Pass to fix it. So now with this influx of congestion pricing, maybe how are you gonna realistically fight a charge if you were overcharged? Two more. FDNY is saying this will increase. Actually,
you got to give us, because I'm not a magician of memory, so you got to give me at least a chance to answer one or two questions at a time. On the question of the charge of the taxis, yes, one of the strategies we worked out with the taxi and the Uber and for our vehicle industry was, instead of having it be one charge when you come in, have it as a per vehicle charge, and it adds up to the same thing on average per day. You were charged properly for 75 cents in a cab within the zone. So that was a proper charge. On the question of, and that's been in the public for quite some time since the tolls were adopted. On the question of how the customer service will work, I'll say this: we've got a call center that is fully devoted to educating people or helping people on congestion pricing related issues, whether it's exemptions or toll charges or otherwise, that's up and running right now. I have the phone number. It's 1-800-333-TOLL. I think it's 1-800-333-8655. So that's open 7 to 7 on the weekdays, little shorter hours on the weekends, and people can do that. They can also call 511, which is the MTA's customer service center, which, unlike the old days, actually picks up within a minute, and get help from them as well. So there's a lot of customer service available. I'm going to let Allison answer on the Easy Pass question.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have a dedicated group at the customer service center. Importantly, for the month of January, we're actually opening on Sundays as well. Normally it's not open Sundays, so to your question, how do I get that? How do I get in there? We're going to have Saturday hours on Sundays through January, recognizing this is different for everybody. When you call in, if there is a question, if there is a dispute, we have a dispute process. It starts with when you get your statement and you can sign something on the back. You can call us, call the customer service center. If for some reason they can't help you, it gets bumped up to the respective agencies. Right now, that call center is being staffed with additional people for the foreseeable future, anywhere from 40% to 70% over what we normally would staff, depending upon the time of the week. Every day of the week, we have different kinds of volumes. We anticipate with this, the volumes will look a little bit different in terms of those weekday fluctuations, just by virtue of what Jana was describing earlier in terms of when people will start seeing tolls and eventually credits. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Jake Offenhartz is here from the Associated Press. You have a question, Jake?
Sure, thanks, Tim. I know it's very early. I'm wondering if you're seeing any sort of impact on traffic entering the congestion zone at this point?
I think I covered this earlier. No, we can't. Right now, City DOT, which monitors traffic in real time, tells us traffic is completely normal and there's nothing weird or concerning going on. It is seasonally and day of the week normal. So, and even a little light. But as I said, we will start to know specific numbers and have some comparatives within a few days, and we're going to share that information publicly. Because, as I said, the calculations, all of the factors that go into determining how many entries, how many are charge eligible are pretty complicated, and they only start taking place at the end of each 24-hour period.
And then, I guess, building off of what Sam said, I was riding the subways today, interviewing riders, people that I think you would say should be excited about this. And I heard a lot of skepticism from people who, they say they don't trust the MTA to use this money to actually improve service. I'm wondering, what you would say to them, and also when you think they'll start feeling the benefits. Yeah,
I don't want to speculate on when benefits are good. We're going to be completely transparent with everybody about what's happening. The benefits that people are already starting to feel from how the MTA gets capital program work done are very real. We are getting ADA accessibility projects so that a parent with a stroller can get their kid into the subway easily, unlike in the past. 100-year-old system, no elevators. We're building them 5 times faster than everybody else. We're getting electric buses done. We're buying new cars. We're replacing all that track and power and structure that came in when FDR was the president, Franklin Roosevelt. All that is being replaced. Projects are being done on time and on budget. This is a new MTA, and I don't expect folks to notice it every day, but the numbers and the customer satisfaction are moving in the right direction.
Let's go to Carol DiIorio right there from 1010 Wins on 92.8. Carol.
I was with the fire department this morning, the fire union, I should say.
Yeah.
And their complaint is that firefighters use their personal vehicles to fill in shortages at the different firehouses. They asked for a 10% exemption and got turned down. Not an exemption for all firemen, just those that have to do that. So my question is, what do you say to those people? They're not going to use their cars. And the second part of that is they didn't get the exemption, but they complained that the Hampton Jitney did get its full exemption.
Yeah, I mean, the Hampton Jitney is a bus, and they're talking about private cars. Now, the good news for the core function of fire and EMS is one of the principal goals is to make response times faster, and that's especially important for EMS. The EMS operation, the ambulance drivers are taking people to the hospital whose time to get to the hospital is going up, up, up. So that is a huge benefit since you're talking about fire and EMS. Likewise, fire trucks. Hey, there's no question there were a lot of specific proposals for exemptions proposed. The decision was made, it was recommended to us, and ultimately that we shouldn't have rifle shot specific exemptions for every little situation, but that those folks properly can raise that issue with employer. If your employer is requiring you to drive instead of take mass transit and requiring to use the car to move during your job, that's a legitimate question to raise with your employer. Carol, if when you drive wherever you're going, if you're using your personal car, the station's going to pay you back for that use of your car. And the firefighters have made that argument. I know that they're going to make it to the city as an employer-employee issue.
All right, let's go over here to Behar Astadan from Newsday from Long Island. Behar.
Okay, thank you. Hi, how's it going? We spoke to some yellow cab drivers, rideshare drivers, and some food truck operators this morning who felt like the new tolls won't just impact sort of the direct, money they make, but also have some unforeseen effects like, driving ingredients to and from the city, generators, that sort of thing, perhaps affecting business in Midtown for them on certain days or certain hours. What would you say to that demographic of New Yorker?
There was a 4,000-page study done of every possible impact, and what they concluded, and it was approved by the feds after 4,000 4-year study, that there would not be any negative effects, not on business, not on rideshare, not on taxis. Just bear in mind the average price of an Uber now is, people are paying on average well over $30 for an Uber ride. So the argument that it's going to, the extra toll is going to dramatically impact the economics of people choosing to take Uber or Lyft or other for-hire vehicles, I don't think is credible. And the studies so far have shown that it's highly unlikely to impact on their business or indeed other businesses in New York. To the contrary, what the studies have shown is saving time in traffic for trucks, for vehicles that have to come to Manhattan, that can't take the subway, is going to be a great benefit to our economy if traffic moves more freely.
All right, moving here to Dorian Gyer. He's with the New York Post, sir.
Hi, Mr. Lieber. Thanks so much for being here. This question relates to New Jersey. There are ongoing negotiations to settle the congestion toll loss.
Right,
negotiations to settle the congestion toll lawsuit that New Jersey filed against MTA in federal court in Newark. The judge there urged both parties to settle the case whereby MTA provides New Jersey driver credits to partially offset the new toll and funds anti-pollution programs for impacted communities on the New Jersey side of the Hudson. So New Jersey officials rejected MTA and New York's final offer as inadequate in both counts. Can you comment on complaints from New Jersey that they got cheated with the congestion toll?
Okay, so no one's supposed to be talking about settlement negotiations. That's a first principle. But I'll tell you this, we've had now, in the last week, we've had 3 federal judges issue 4 or 5 different rulings that said we did it 100% by the book in studying this and in developing the tolling system and allocating it. And the other thing I would say to New Jersey respectfully is, the Garden State Parkway and the Turnpike tolls have gone up. The GW Bridge, all the Port Authority tolls went up. The New Jersey gas tax went up. The cost of mass transit was hiked by Phil Murphy by 15%. But New Jerseyans seem not to be concerned about those things, or at least the politicians in New Jersey aren't focusing on that. They're only focusing on New York, trying to make sure that we have cleaner air, less traffic violence, and better transit. I think that's kind of the definition of hypocrisy, but we'll see how New Jersey, after losing again and again and again, adjusts their views.
All right, let's go to Michelle Cassidy. She is right there from Bloomberg News, sir, right over here on the North Coast. There you go.
Hey, Jano. So I know it's early days, but is there already any tweaks that you're anticipating making tomorrow or over the next few days, whether it's even little things like changes in signage or something like that, something where you're seeing some quirks come up and you're going to iron them out?
Michelle, I've known you a long time. I'm sure you're a better soothsayer than I. I cannot tell you what unforeseen conditions that we will be reacting to. We haven't seen them yet. But your point is well taken, which is if we see something that's not working, we're going to react and try to make sure we address it, whether it's signage, whether it's a particular traffic condition. I know that our partners at DOT are looking at how lights work, the whole network system. So we're all working together to make sure that it's not just congestion pricing, but the goal of having a Midtown and Lower Manhattan that is easier for vehicles that have to be there to move around, that we're making progress. So the goal is to adjust to conditions as they unfold.
All right, back there in the mezzanine, Ronnie Jacobson with her hand up from the New York Daily News. She's over here right behind Michelle. There you go.
So it's a two-part question. With so many more people riding the subway as fewer people drive their cars, are you anticipating a commensurate increase in violence and violent incidents on the subway, which are on a lot of people's minds? How would you deal with that?
Let's level set, right? We're talking about, we have 90% of the people already take subway, right? So every day you have, in New York, we have, during the weekdays, roughly 4.5 million people on the subway post-COVID now, less on the weekends. So people are taking transit. We have huge volumes on commuter rail and otherwise. So the 130 to 140,000 people who commute by car, we got plenty of room for those people. That's not going to be some dramatic feeling of, oh my God, all of a sudden the subways and buses and commuter rail are full, because if you look at the numbers, we have room for those folks to come in. There's more impact from 2 drops of rain in the forecast on subway ridership than there will be from congestion pricing. So the mass transit system is very ready to accommodate those extra folks. Look at the numbers, I would say. And listen, we're all fighting, the issue of the safety of our public space in general is one that we are all pushing back on. It's no secret we have made huge progress since COVID, 12.5% less in 24, less felony crime than in 2019. But high-profile crimes that are alarming New Yorkers are real, and we need the criminal justice system, because we catch all of these maniacs. We need the criminal justice system to put them away, to do something to make sure that they do not threaten our customers. Public space is what makes New York work, and it needs to feel safe, and it needs to feel welcoming. And if people are concerned about violence in the public space, especially in a closed space like the subway or mass transit, that is a damage, not just to our business, that's hurting New York. Public space, density, that's New York's special sauce. We need to make it welcoming and safe.
All right, we just have time for a couple more. Jose Martinez is here from the city, had his magnificent rescue dog Bruno with him last night at the event. Not here today, but he's here.
Dog looks like he's had a few Don Pepe sandwiches also.
Too far a walk for Bruno, but I had to walk off the sandwich. Thank you for the time, Jano. Given the seemingly endless ways that New Yorkers find to beat the tolls, be it with license plate shields or MTA vests in their windshields or placards, do these, at the 1400, do these scanners have a way to detect those motorists that are attempting to beat the new fares or tolls?
I would say that, I'll let Allison talk about it, but we're getting better and better at identifying plates that have been defaced, that have been hidden, and we have new technology coming on all the lines. So that's not going to work for very long. We also have, as part of this toll system, any plate that's not easily readable is subjected to MIR, manual image review. So you have people looking at it and studying it and using technology to figure it out. So don't do that. Don't subject yourself to fines and potential imprisonment by messing around with your license plate. The mayor of the city of New York, to his credit, has pointed out that 90% of these ghost plates, these fake temporary plates, are not legit, and a lot of them are used in crime. So the NYPD and all the other law enforcement agencies are cracking down on license plate fraud. That's going to help us with this portion of the congestion pricing system.
Did you say you wanted Allison to add to that?
You can talk more about MIR.
Just a couple of more things to add. We already have a robust system that we use for dealing with people who don't pay their tolls. The vast majority of what we do today is relevant for congestion pricing as well. So we can still do things like suspend registrations. We can still send people for judgment. But importantly, we want to point out that the vast majority of people actually do the right thing and pay their tolls. And that's really what we want for everybody, right? We're all in this together, and we want to focus on that. Thank you.
All right, we're closing out the proceedings here with Ramsey Khalifa from WNYC in Gotham. Mr. Ramsey, go ahead.
Hey, Jano, Happy New Year. Just two quick questions. Can you kind of reflect on this moment, seeing, advocates celebrate last night when the cameras turned on? And also, can you kind of assess future threats, whether the new president coming in could implicate something with this program, or even if that New Jersey case gets appealed to higher courts?
Honestly, I think that the judge in New Jersey was extremely thorough in his decision. So the appeal, which, the Third Circuit, the appeals court refused to hear it on an emergency basis and kind of knocked it down even before the case coming forward. So I'm not worried. Listen, we're going to have to work with the new administration on all kinds of ways. I'm confident that agreements between the federal government and localities stand up to changes of administration. So we'll have to deal with whatever it is. In fun, people don't just routinely pull grant agreements or other agreements between the feds and states and localities. But I also keep saying it, and I believe it, that Donald Trump is a New Yorker. His office buildings, and he still owns a few, are filled with people who take mass transit, and I think he understands, being on Fifth Avenue, living on Fifth Avenue, 59th Street, what traffic is doing to our city. So I'm hopeful that, although there has been some rhetoric about this, that we will continue to work with the federal government and get through the change of administration. On the bigger issue of what this represents, I've talked a little about why this is historic. It's the first in the nation. It's, we are obviously a high visibility city around the world. Other localities in the United States are struggling with traffic. They're struggling with the consequences of traffic. They don't have the great mass transit system that we have, and they are worrying about it, and they're calling us and asking to learn more. So that is part of what makes this feel historic. But for New York, what I think is especially important is it shows we can do big things. Sometimes it feels like New York is, that cities in general and the government process is paralyzed and can't take action, whether it's climate change or other big issues. We are taking action to protect our city economically, socially, environmentally, and making sure that the future, that New York is going to be a great place to come and visit and drive to if you have to, because you'll be able to get around, rather than letting us just turn into some third world city where you spend 2 days stuck in traffic. We've all heard about that in Russia and other places where people get stuck in traffic for days. We don't want New York to be that way. We're taking action, and I think it's a very hopeful moment from the standpoint of a little more confidence in our ability to attack our problems and do something about it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy your Sunday.